We go at them where it hurts, in their greedy little...
4 hours it's been.
Yeah, it really has. I think some more important updates that lead potential credence to a deal signing this weekend, or at least the preparation for it. And I mentioned this, as you know, this is a roller coaster ride. The emotions, it's an up and a down almost every other day. But yesterday, the Air Force sent 4 C-17s to Europe in preparation for the vice president to attend a potential deal signing this weekend. That's a big deal because we're sending what is called an advance, which is forces, civilian forces, military assets, law enforcement to prep for the vice president to be somewhere. And so to make that big strategic move does show a signal that there is some confidence that there will be a discussion this weekend in Europe. Now, what does that discussion or potential agreement look like? Look, both sides, the U.S. and Iran, at least publicly, are saying that they are much different things. And I think what's happening from the Iranian perspective is you have two components in that country. You have the president, which is a weak president, not a lot of control, but then you have the Ayatollah, controls the military, very much controlling. Iran is trying to save face, I believe, with their own citizenry, as well as potentially not to have any down roads with their military commanders in a potential, I don't want to say coup in that far stretch, but I think that's why this is so delicate. And to see Pakistan come out verbally today announcing this potential agreement, again, does signal at least some good movement.
Yeah, and we're hearing from just within the last couple of hours, a senior administration official saying the deal was 80 to 85% done. The U.S. side believes most of the people who have authority in the Iranian government want to sign on, but not everybody. So it sounds in a way that not everyone's on the same page. But from what you've been seeing, is this the closest we've been to a deal since the war started?
I don't think so. I think the closest we may have been in the beginning of the war during the first potential meeting because of how successful the United States strikes were. You really did not see Iran responding very much. They were very much on their heels. I do feel Iran feels much more emboldened right now, and I think that's part of their delay tactic, but also historically, they've done this as well. And the president, our president, is presented with a number of options called COAs, courses of action. And we know over the weekend, he was presented with a pretty fascinating one we'll hear more about, which is where our military was presenting him with a plan of how to potentially go into boots in the ground into Iran to secure the enriched uranium, which has been bombarded underneath a lot of rubble. Trump allegedly nixed that plan, not wanting to put boots on the ground after being advised by the military that there would likely be a number of U.S. casualties. So the best move for this president going forward from a public perception, going into the midterms, wanting to get a deal, is to get a deal. But both sides, I think, are a little, at least far apart publicly, and we can discuss some of what both sides are looking at as well, pending your time.
Yeah, actually, let's do that, because I think as we're diving deeper into this, we've been down this road a lot, Dr. Chabot, hearing that a possible deal was close going into a weekend, only to have that not be the case. What are both sides kind of looking at here?
Yeah, so this really, we can kind of put ceasefire on the back burner. What it would be, again, would be a memorandum of understanding, in essence, a short document that both sides would agree to. And what this would agree to is basically an extension, a 60-day potential, 60-day ceasefire. But what's interesting is it extends that ceasefire into Lebanon. Well, Hezbollah is an Iranian proxy funded in Lebanon attacking Israel, and they are exchanging fire almost daily. So they are brought into this potential MOU. The United States is asking for an immediate opening of the strait, the United States would lift the blockade against Iran, and that some sanction relief would be seen. And then obviously most important is that we want the Iranians to satisfy all of the United States nuclear demands. Now, if you read Iran's response from this, they would not commit to ceding management of the Strait of Hormuz. That is a big deal and a no-go from negotiations. And it looks like up front, they're demanding release of about $24 billion of frozen assets. At least publicly, this is what both sides are saying. When they get in the rooms together with Pakistan, kind of taking the lead here for negotiations, it could be much different.
Yeah, and just as far as what you're seeing, what do you think? Because it's coming at the same time as a G7 summit this weekend as well, so
Yeah.
that timing is kind of interesting too.
Yeah, I think how we have seen this, look, oil prices, interestingly, are down right now. And China is an outlier here because they are not importing or needing as much oil because their economy is down. They're getting oil largely from Russia and others. So a lot of that oil that ended up on the global market from the Strait of Hormuz did end up in China, but that demand is not where it was. Also, President Trump yesterday in a press conference, basically admitted that we've been shadow fleeting out a number of oil tankers under the cover of darkness, on average about 12 tankers a day. Well, that will also help relieve pressure. So I just don't know right now where the economics are for the president to see this as urgent as he did a week ago, to want to give something, to get something in front of the G7. But obviously, this weekend is real big. And as we say in the military, especially the Navy, it'll be all hands on deck.
Absolutely. And and we've talked before, it's hard to predict right now. What do you think at this point, just based on what you're seeing, we could see out of this weekend? If we can maybe look in the crystal ball for Monday, what will we be talking about then?
Yep. Yeah, some things I would watch for is we've not heard much about Jared Kushner or Witkoff in the past few weeks. Remember, they were initially a big part of this first negotiation, which did not go well, including Vice President Vance. I would watch because if he is going to fly to Europe, he will likely do a press event on the tarmac boarding Air Force One heading to Europe. So if we see the vice president board a plane this weekend from a tarmac at Andrews Air Force Base or other location, that's a huge signal because from the vice president's perspective, he's already not gotten the deal once. He doesn't want to go again and come back empty-handed. So if he goes, you've almost got to assume that this is in the bag for a deal, maybe not an ideal deal, but something that would open up 60 days of more discussion with the Iranians and the help of the Pakistanis working with both sides together.
And we know you'll be watching this along with us, retired Naval Intelligence Commander Dr. Paul Chabot. We appreciate you taking the time and joining us today, and we will see you coming up on the Pulse at 7:30 tonight as well.
Thanks, Aaron. My pleasure.